Joining me now, independent journalist Anna Matson. You may have seen her on social media or actually other places as well. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You've done a lot of different things, but the one thing we're talking about now, and we're going to get to the FOIA, but this all start because of the tragedy in Grand Blanc Township with the shooting and the arson? That's when all of this kind of started, right?
Yeah, so Grand Blanc is a neighboring town to me, and I'm very passionate about our first responders here in my town. And what got me involved in that is I saw my fire department leaving to go help Grand Blanc. And then I was actually the first reporter on the scene. So it's a whole different level when you actually know the first responders that are on the scene and you can clearly tell that there's tragedy going on. So my heart just broke for everybody, the whole
Yeah,
community, but especially our first responders that day.
yeah, I think you were
Um,
one of the you were I saw you there and then I showed up and then actually the regular media was like and some of them were an hour later. I'm
yes.
like, but the you were there, I was there, and
Yeah, we were passing ships.
yeah, exactly. So that happened and you reported on what happened. I reported on what happened with the
Yes.
crime and all of that, but then things changed a little bit. You started finding out more about the fire chief staffing.
So
How did you get into that part of it?
so I started seeing reports, it was like 3 weeks later that the fire chief was put on administrative leave. And I'm hearing from the first responders in my town that I know they're all sharing the story because even though they're all separate fire departments, they're one community. They all help each other when anyone needs mutual aid, they come to each other's rescue and stuff. So it really is just one community. So I started looking into this. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? Residents started to reach out to me, telling me you need to look into this, all this stuff. So I spent a whole weekend looking through all the information that's publicly available. And someone close to me was like, you need to dig deeper. You can do this. And I was like, okay. So I started going through the budget and it didn't make sense to me because the fire department gets 2 million a year, but police get 10 million. And it is common that police get more money, but that's a huge difference. Because if you think about it, they have like very similar operations. They have to have people on the road, like on call all the time. They both have like huge capital expenses, like police need cars, fire trucks. They're very similar. So this was just very strange for me to see. And then there's other budget line items like they have one park in all of Grand Blanc
Mhm.
and they get over $500,000 a year. They bring in $140,000 in revenue. And in my town, we have 5 parks and they get a budget of 55,000. So it's just things like this and I'm like none of this makes sense in the budget.
Okay.
But getting back to it, I'm like, okay, but what actually happened for him to be put on administrative leave? And if you remember, they actually wanted to fire him. It was on the agenda originally
Oh
to
yeah.
fire him
Yeah.
on National First Responders Day.
I
So,
remember that, and then over the
yes,
weekend was that meeting on, like, a Monday or Tuesday, but o in the
Tuesday.
weekend prior, a lot your story went out, I did something, others a lot of the residents starting voicing their opinion, and that
Mhm.
meeting was packed, I think I remember.
Yes, and I think it was the day or the day before they took that off the agenda. So I just want to tell everyone that public outrage works. It
It
does actually help control what's going on in our
it
government.
does, get involved. So we
Yes.
did we never to this day, do we still know why they wanted to get rid of him?
So we don't know the official position from the township yet.
No, we don't.
We know what the fire chief said during public comment. According to the fire chief, in an open meeting, he said this. He said that he was asked to do an illegal act and he declined. The union had reached out to the township board, according to the fire chief again. They reached out to the township board saying, hey, we invite you guys to come to the fire department. We would love to show you how our operations work, maybe talk about staffing, stuff like that. And allegedly, the superintendent told the fire chief, you need to tell the union to not reach out to the board.
Mm,
And allegedly, the fire chief said, I'm not going to do that. That is federally protected under labor laws.
yeah.
And the superintendent put him on administrative leave.
Now, does it come down to also that the staffing issues, right? Was there
Mhm.
including the day of the tragedy in Grand Blanc.
Yes. And so here's what's really important to understand. There are 2 fire stations in Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc is about 36 square miles. One of their fire stations on the north end closes at night because they are so short staffed.
Wow.
That means home insurance rates also go up because there's an ISO rating that every area gets. So it's actually costing the taxpayers more money in insurance for that department to go down. And then also, if you have a fire on the north end, it's taking longer for the department on the south end to respond. So, bare minimum, they should have 2 fully operational fire departments. That is absolutely essential. In my town, with less than a third of the population, we have 2 functioning fire departments.
Wow. So you wanted more information. So as journalists and citizens do, they file a freedom of information request, and you wanted to get to the bottom of it, and you wanted to know what was the correspondence back and forth, what was the real reason. So you spent some time probably writing up a request, right?
So I did 3 requests total. The first one, very simple. I was asking for all communication between the fire chief and the superintendent, basically for all of this year, but he was hired in April. So we're talking about 6 months of records. And then I also asked for all communication, all public records regarding decision to put him on administrative leave. Now that decision happened within a week, so we're really not talking about a lot of records. They asked for an extension, so I heard back like 3 weeks later, and they wanted to charge me $100,000. I also put in 2 other requests, one of them for much more information, asking for communication between several employees regarding the entire operations of the fire department, and they charged me $64,000. And that's how I knew that they have no rhyme or reason for charging amounts, because that second FOIA was much larger and should have actually been more expensive. But regardless, they're both way too overpriced. And
And
then the go ahead.
go ahead.
So the third one was very small. I asked for the superintendent's contract and his pay schedule.
Okay.
And I also asked for all communication with the township and their PR firm. I heard that they hired a PR firm after the church tragedy, which a PR firm in government is just a propaganda firm.
Yeah. Do we know how much money was spent on that
I
firm?
do not. So I asked for all communication between them. They gave me his contract and his pay schedule for $13, but they declined the information about the PR firm, saying that it's attorney client privilege, which
I
seems to be the theme in what they're doing today.
I have such an issue, and
Yep.
this is my opinion. For example, the Flint, Michigan Public School District spent hundreds of thousands on a PR firm. How about
Mhm.
you hire a PR person, or there are people capable. Whatever, that's a whole other
No,
story.
it is a story. I mean, I even found out that my local school district hires a PR firm, and it's insane. Because again, I have my degree is in marketing, and it's simply a propaganda firm, and the government should not be propagandizing the people.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's a whole other story.
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, may not understand, some people are like, well, they should never charge for FOIA. But as you understand, there are at times there are costs where
Yes.
they do charge. I've never heard of anything like this though.
Mhm.
When I was a reporter and I had to get a big police report or a case file, I'd had to pay maybe $2 or 20
Yep.
bucks or $100. So it is not unusual that they may charge you, right?
Well, it's funny. I mean, most of the time, I do not get charged for FOIAs.
Wow.
Yes, under Michigan law, you can be charged. I find that governments that are trying to hide something are the ones that are charging. But again, nothing like this. The most expensive, and I do FOIAs all the time. I have FOIA'd other states. I have FOIA'd our state, of course, local governments, and even the federal government. The
Yeah.
most I've ever been charged is $1,000, and that was asking for records over 20 years from Eagle. I was able to talk with them. We narrowed it down a little bit. I still got all the records over 20 years, and it was for free.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's really just a clear sign that they're trying to hide something.
You would think, and I'm gonna put on the screen now because WNEM interviewed you, but they also interviewed Scott Bennett. He's a Grand Blanc Township supervisor. I'm gonna list off his reasons, and then you can respond. He said the FOIA requests were extremely broad, asking for all communication between him and the fire chief. The scope would require searching emails, messages, and records for more than 200 township employees. He argues the six-figure number reflects the labor required to gather. The township proposed or processed more than 1,000 FOIA requests this year, um, and almost all were inexpensive. Okay. The highest previous FOIA fee was about $75, which he says shows this request is unusually large. Okay, that would be you. The request taking less than 15 minutes. He says the 100,000 is an itemized estimate based on time and staffing, but he said he offered the option to narrow or scale the request to reduce the cost. Did that happen?
I don't I have not had communication with the supervisor. So he's been talking to the press. The only thing that he has said to me is the second appeal that I submitted, he replied all to an email with the rest of the township board, which you're not supposed to reply all as an elected official because that creates a quorum. But he just said that he was going to forward it to the attorney. And this is another issue because I keep at my public comments, I keep telling them that they are the legislative branch. The employees are the ones that decided that this request was going to be $100,000.
Hmm.
The FOIA law allows residents to appeal to the board, not appeal to back to the same people who just charged you that amount.
Yeah.
So it is up to them to make this decision, but they are leaning on the staff to make the decision for them.
I'm looking right here. Michigan FOIA. Yeah, agent Michigan law allows public bodies to bill for actual reasonable and necessary cost. Um, Only for the lowest paid person
Yes.
qualified to do the work. They cannot assign the highest paid employee to inflate rates. Must be the lowest paid employee. Labor to scan, copy, transfer. The maximum is 10 cents per page. I guess that's if you're having it all printed out.
So there are four, I believe, four things under FOIA that you can charge for, like searching, locating, redacting, what
Yeah.
have you. They most of what they're charging me, so in the one request, $65,000 alone, they put it's for legal review. That is not authorized under FOIA. You
Yeah, I
cannot
don't
charge for legal
sorry to
review.
interrupt, but I'm looking at the Michigan law and I don't see that as
No.
what it says what they can charge for labor to search, to separate, labor to
Yep.
copy, scan, copies, charge for costs of USB, CD, DVDs, mailing costs,
Yep.
deposits. But I don't see that. Oh, it says Michigan law, according to what I'm seeing here, it says what agencies cannot charge for. They cannot charge for review by attorneys, according to what I see.
Yeah, this is I have never seen and I have sued my own town before over FOIA. I'm actually in my second FOIA lawsuit with my own town
Yeah.
because they keep trying to charge attorney fees. I have never successfully seen a municipality charge attorney fees because
Yeah.
it goes against the very fabric of what that law was created for. It was created to make government transparent and make information easily accessible to the people. And you can't do that if you're hiding behind $100,000 bills and attorney client privilege. So this it's just all wrong. Everything they're doing, it completely violates the intent of the law. It violates the law itself. And like you stated, the law only allows them to charge for the lowest paid employee capable of doing the search, whether or not that employee actually did the search. Most of the time, I think it's around like $18 is what I see municipalities charge per hour. But they're charging 40 an hour for the clerk. I believe $60 or $64 for IT, and $190 an hour for the attorney. So it'll be very interesting to see how they explain to a judge how the attorney is the lowest paid employee.
Yeah, and to be fair to Scott Bennett, he says the FOIA request was extremely broad, asking for all communications between him and the fire chief. What's your take on
Well, it
that?
wasn't with him. I mean, he's a supervisor. I asked for all communication between the superintendent and the
Superintendent.
fire
Okay,
chief,
sorry, my bad.
but regardless, that's not a huge ask. And IT has already done the search because they estimate that there's 4,000 emails, even though I know that there's not 4,000 emails. That I did the math. That's like 32 emails a day if they work every single day. I mean, it's just not possible. So they claim it's that much, but it doesn't take that long to run these search queries. And I have so many people from that are in the IT field that have reached out to me. And again, I have talked to so many clerks. I know a lot of clerks, and it literally takes maybe 15 minutes to run that search to collect those emails. All they have to do is put the search words and they all come up and you export. That's
And
it.
you don't have to print them all out nowadays.
No,
No.
no.
Okay, so where do we stand now? Are you actually pursuing the next step in this, or where do we go from here?
So the first thing that you have to do when it comes to a cost appeal is or cost when when you're overcharged, you believe you're overcharged, is you have to appeal to the head of the public body. So I did that. That is Grand Blanc Township Board. I sent that to them Monday. It was considered received yesterday. Now they have 10 days to decide on the appeal. So in like 2 weeks, they have their next meeting. They will decide. Um, I mean, they've already denied one of my appeals, so I don't think there's hope here. Yesterday was really interesting. The denial of the information from the PR firm. It was on the agenda for the open meeting, and they, at the beginning of the meeting, amended the agenda to put it in closed session. That is not a reason you can go in closed session.
Hmm.
So when that time came in the meeting, they said it was because they were going in closed session pursuant to attorney client privilege information. So they are using that as a shield. I was also told that a lot, I don't know if it's all or a lot of emails, they are now CCing the attorney just so people cannot FOIA those
To
communications
make
so
it
they can,
attorney-client.
yes, but
Okay.
that is such an abuse of the law. And there
So
is an appeals case that says that they cannot be doing that.
so if they say no, are you willing to go to a judge or it say, "Hey,
Yes,
try to."
absolutely.
Okay.
Because when we back down, that's when government stays corrupt. That's when government stays out of control. And I always tell people, like, a lot of times at the federal level, it seems like we do not have a voice, we do not have a say, but we have so much power at the local level. So you can't back down. You have to keep pursuing this. And they are thriving off people who can't afford it and don't have the time to and just don't want to deal with the frustration, and quitting is just not in my DNA. So, again, especially that this has to do with our first responders, they deserve our respect. They deserve the truth to come out, and the entire community deserves the truth to come out. I have had residents every single day reach out to me saying, "Thank you so much. Keep doing this. Let me know if you need anything." And they've been reaching out to the board themselves. They've been calling the office. They're doing what they can too.
What last question, what advice do you have to just normal people? Anyone can file a FOIA request,
Mhm.
and right? I mean, you don't have to be quiet or silent. The
Nope.
average person can stand up and make a difference.
Exactly. I think, other than our Constitution, of course, the Freedom of Information Act and the Open Meetings Act are two of the best laws to protect us, and to make government open and transparent. They are not very long laws. Every single state has a version of them, and just read them. You can't protect your rights if you don't know what your rights are. So read them sometime and try to fill out a request, even if it's just for the budget or something, something small, and you'll get there.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to have you on again. So you said 2 weeks is the next meeting, so we'll hear then what they decide.
Yes.